Hello, everyone. I'm Bo from Brutal Commentary, and today I'm going to be breaking down our next matchup for UFC Vancouver. In this one, we have Kyle Prepolec taking on Drew Dober. Prepolec is 18-9 as a professional, 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Meanwhile, Drew Dober is 27-15 as a professional, 1-4 in his last 5 fights. So looking at Prepolec's last five, really, he was on the regional scene for a while. Did fight in the UFC originally, but lost his 2 fights in the UFC, one of them being to Austin Hubbard. Eventually, he fights Benoit Saint-Denis on short notice at UFC 315 this May, where he mostly just got outclassed on the ground by Benoit and eventually choked out and tapped in the second round. Meanwhile, Dober, I've been looking good for him. Losing 4 out of his last 5 fights. His only win is a knockout to Ricky Glenn 2 years ago in September. Since then, more specifically, this 3-fight skid, you do look at the names, though, and he's fought nothing but high-level opposition, right? Renato Moicano, top 15. John Silva, top 10 in another weight class. Most recently, in March, he got destroyed by Manuel Torres. It was honestly pretty hard to watch. Just the perfect jab crossed, and Dober's just clinging onto that leg while Manuel Torres is just hammer fisting what's left of Dober's consciousness. It was honestly not a pretty sight to watch. Now he gets Kyle Prepolec in a fight where it's more or less, is Drew Dober washed? That's the question. Yeah, I think Drew Dober is one of the prime knockout artists of the lightweight division. In fact, I'm pretty sure he's tied with Dustin Poirier for the most knockout wins at lightweight. Dober hits with extreme power. More specifically, he fights out of southpaw. That left hand of his is absolutely devastating, especially when it hits his opponents clean. You think of the Bobby Green win or the Rafael, not Lasensao. Who was it? It was Rafael something. The name is escaping me, but when Drew Dober landed that left straight to the body, you saw him crumble. Rafael just crumbled to the ground. Or like Terrence McKinney, when Dober started laying ground and pound strikes on the chin. Dober's got some serious power in that left hand. Now, it used to be back then, I don't know how far it is now, but Dober's also best attribute was his durability. His ability to just go into wars and come out on the other end victorious was one of his strongest abilities and what made his style work. Thinking of like the Alexander Hernandez fight, which he was losing at times, but eventually just rallied and got the knockout blow. Or hell, the Bobby Green fight, he was getting tuned up by Bobby Green. And he just kept coming forward, ate all the shots. Eventually just landed that left to the temple as Bobby's retreating. But lately, his durability is just not what it been used to be. Now, he took a beating from John Silva and more or less was still in the fight until the doctor had to stop it due to the literal axe wound on his face. But man, the Manuel Torres fight is hard to get out of my head in terms of like how good is Dober's durability now. Especially being 36 at lightweight with the amount of fights he's had over his career. It's hard to say. I mean, 42 fights. Man, a lot of fights. Meanwhile, for Kyle Prepolec, he has some okay skills. His best attributes, I would say, is his clinch work, where he does go for some nice elbows and knees. He also has more of a brawler-esque mindset, with more so looping punches, some calf kicks to him, but mostly kind of go out there to take your head off. He's more or less well-rounded, but superior ground fighters do beat him like Benoit. I could see Dober possibly beating him in the wrestling, as Dober is not only very strong for this division. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, he's like the biggest lightweight on the roster. I mean, there was times where the California Athletic Commission thought, man, this guy should like just cut to 170 at this point. He's killing himself making 155. So it's possible I could see Dober like muscling his way, and he does have some takedowns to him. Now, granted, kind of like Prepolec, Dober is also susceptible to being controlled on the ground for long portions of time, especially like Renato Moicano. But, you know, Kyle Prepolec ain't no Renato Moicano when it comes to jiu-jitsu. So I can actually see Dober being the better wrestler of the two. To be honest, though, looking at this fight, Drew Dober should win. Kyle Prepolec, you know, is more so a Canadian journeyman. I'm just being real here. You know, I mean, I applaud him for stepping up on short notice to take on Benoit. Good for him. And he's back in the UFC and, gets to fight in front of his home country again. And all good things for him. And, like I said, the home crowds lately have been doing very good. And I don't know how good Dober's chin is still. But even this watch, Drew Dober, I feel like should really beat a Kyle Prepolec. Prepolec has the style that's perfect for Dober. He's going to come after Dober, and that gives Dober a lot of chances to line up that left cross of his and just kind of crack Prepolec as he's coming in. Plus, I don't think Prepolec hits that hard in comparison to some of the other killers that Dober has been fighting. I mean, looking at, like, not even the past the Ricky Glenn win, he did get chinned by Matt Frivola, which is concerning. But I also think Matt Frivola hits harder than Kyle Prepolec. A lot of the fighters that Drew Dober has lost to via finish, I think, have much greater finishing power than Kyle Prepolec. And again, Prepolec just has this tailor-made style that really fits with Drew Dober well. They're both more or less brawlers that kind of fight with their chins up in the air, like it's a Rocky movie. Dober's a little bit better with his defenses over the years, and it's shown in some of his fights, but it's mostly been that chin that he's relied on. Yeah, it's a fight on paper Drew Dober should win, for sure. But I can't help but think there's a nagging concern in my head going, well, Prepolec lands that one perfect elbow or that one punch to knock out Dober senseless. It could happen, especially with how battle-worn or shop-worn Dober is. Odds-wise, though, they aren't giving Prepolec a chance. Plus 340 for Prepolec, minus 500 for Dober. Ain't it crazy to think a guy who is winless in his last 3 or like 1-3 in his last 4 is a 5-1 favorite against a guy who's, granted, not that much younger than him, about 4 to 5 years 4 or 5 years Dober's junior, but yet he's still the 5-1 favorite and is expected to, for lack of a better term, just knock Prepolec out, or knock him the fuck out, I should say. And that's what I'm leaning towards. I'm going to lean towards Drew Dober. I'm going to pick him to win via vintage knockout. Again, there's absolutely some concerns with the durability, as I don't know how good Dober's chin is. But you got to think March to October. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good time to just let him recover, and after a vicious knockout. So at least his chin might have recovered somewhat and should be optimal for this fight against Prepolec. So once again, I'm going to pick Drew Dober, and I'm going to pick him via knockout. But with that being said, that's been my predictions for this fight. If you liked the video, comment and subscribe. Next up, we got Danny Barlow versus Jordan Santos. Until then, I've been Bo from Brutal Commentary. I thank you all for listening. Take care.